Hey, everybody, welcome back. I'm Emily Moyer. Robert Phoenix is here with me. We are both coming to you live and direct from our personal portals on 1970s TV. This is episode number 35. We're middle-aged now, Robert. How you doing?
I'm feeling timeless. Timeless.
Myself as well. But, let's... Before we get into the meat of the matter, I suppose we should start with what's becoming the appetizer section of the show. And I don't know, we can just talk about what the most interesting things we've eaten over the last few weeks since I saw you last. Have you had anything good to eat, Robert?
Well, it was more of, I mean, I don't really go out. I don't go out to eat like you and Laura do. You guys hit the food thing pretty hard. And mainly because there's not a lot of variety here in this town. Like I could max out with about maybe 3 restaurants.
Yeah. What are your favorite restaurants in Fred?
I would say, and again, I mean, I love really highbrow, interesting, weird food. I could go total foodie. But in this town, I really like this Mexican restaurant called Jalisco de Tequila.
Okay.
And we had lunch out there on Sunday, and the food it's just really good Mexican food. And a lot of people who have Mexican food from other parts of the United States come here and, they have the Tex-Mex thing. And it's like not really what they're used to, but this place is really good, and they use super fresh ingredients. And I got the pastor tacos, and they take a big jalapeno pepper and they char it. Right,
yeah.
So that's on the plate. That's really good. And they let you assemble your taco, so you get chopped onion. Actually, in this place you get grilled onion.
Yeah.
Good. So grilled onion, you get the charred jalapeno. And then they have avocado slices. It's great.
Yeah.
And then they have that powdered kind of cotija cheese.
Yeah.
It's simple, really good though. Really, really good. And high quality Mexican food here in this town.
Are you more a fan of the Texas style of Mexican food? And by that, I don't necessarily mean Tex-Mex, because there is Tex-Mex, but there's also just a more Texas style of Mexican food, or are you partial to the California style of Mexican food?
Well, I grew up with the California style.
Yeah, me too.
Which is good. I mean, for me, the big difference between California and Texas is the burrito.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in California about 2 weeks now, I took my son to El Gordo Burrito, El Gordo. And there are about, I think, 3 or 4 of these El Gordos, and they're really good. I didn't have a burrito. I had a taco there. He had a burrito, but they're kind of amazing. The thing that's amazing about them is they melt the cheese onto the tortilla. So when they go to steam the tortilla, they throw a slice of cheese on there and they melt it. And their meats are real seasoned really, really good. But the challenge with Gordo is that they always hire people who don't really speak great English, and they're kind of known for having an attitude.
Yeah.
So you have to put up with kind of the burrito Nazi, but I honestly, my favorite Mexican food is in New Mexico.
So Southwest style. Yeah.
Gotcha. I love the Southwest style, and you can even extend that a little bit into Colorado, although some people will say you don't get really good Mexican food in Colorado. I've had really good Mexican food in Colorado. And I've had really good Mexican food in Arizona. And Arizona is this interesting kind of interface between sort of Southwest style and a little bit of California style. So if I had to pick one region where I really dig the Mexican food, it's probably New Mexico.
Awesome. Yeah, no, they're all a little bit different, right? Like they each kind of have their own flavor and style of doing it. There's always like some crossover between them. But yeah, I'd say the burrito, like here in Texas, everybody has like breakfast tacos. There's no breakfast tacos in California. It's breakfast burritos. Like we do have tacos, but the burrito is kind of a big thing in California, right? And then I've eaten a lot. I mean, I've lived in Arizona and I've traveled a lot in New Mexico, and the Mexican food, Arizona has kind of a mixture of everything with their sort of Mexican style. Texas is interesting, right? Like there's, Tex-Mex is really different than Mexican food, but there's been some of it that has sort of elevated over the last 25 years from like when I first started coming here, right? That like you can get some pretty high end Tex-Mex now. That I like. I guess some of my criticism about the Tex-Mex when I first moved here was like too much picadillo, too much ground beef, right? Like I prefer like the more barbacoa or machaca style of beef in the Mexican food, and just different kinds of sauces and seasonings and whatnot. But Mexican food, like if I had to, I mean, I like a lot of different kinds of food, but like on the most frequent to eat basis, I'd say Mexican is my favorite of the ethnic foods to go to on a regular basis. The only one that I would eat as frequently, I'd say, is maybe like Vietnamese or something like that. But yeah, I like Mexican food. For me, it's all about the tortillas. Like if I love homemade, they have to be fresh, made in-house corn tortillas. And then I'm also pretty picky about chips, right? And like there's a shortage of great chips here in Austin. There's plenty of great Mexican food. There's even some great tortillas, but not that many of the Mexican restaurants have chips that make me be like, man, I'm going to eat the whole basket of these, right?
Jack Allen's has good chips.
Jack Allen's has good chips.
Yeah.
I'm pretty picky on chips. I'll have to check them out. But yeah, I like Mexican food a lot. And we've discovered this new place around the corner from where we're living called De Nada Cantina. It's fairly new. Yeah. My only criticism of them is their chips. I don't think their chips are very good. Their tortillas are good, so they've figured that out. They make their tortillas in house, I believe, either that or they're having someone make them for them in a way that's really good. But I think their homemade tortillas. It's a pretty simple place. They pretty much just have like a few different kinds of tacos. They have like queso and guacamole and stuff like that. The chips are a problem for me. Their drinks are great, but it's a pretty fun place, right? It's kind of a cool little like neighborhood joint. And Laura likes that because the cup that they serve you your frozen margarita in like stays frozen.
Oh.
And it's pink and she likes it. And they have funny shirts, and I like to harangue I'm not sure if he's the owner or the manager. Like I like to tease him about all my conspiracies because their logo for the place is a bird with a chip in its mouth, but the chip looks like a triangle. So it's like an Illuminati bird. So or something like that, right? So I liked it. So I told him about birds not being real, and he got his knickers all in a twist, right? So I'm sure every time we go in there to drop some irritating thing about conspiracies, and he humors me a little bit and whatever. We love the bartender there, but I really like to heckle the manager about birds not being real. It's fun.
So you were just like in the Midwest. Did you have any good food in the Midwest?
So okay, so we were in yeah. So we went to we drove, and so like the first day we drove 10 hours to Kansas City and spent the night, and we ate in a good restaurant. Actually, we got there in the afternoon and we had a dinner reservation later. So we went to this restaurant just for a drink and a snack when we got there because we were pretty hungry. And it was called the Antler Room. And this is a place I would like to go back to for a meal, partly because when you walked in there, like we walked in, we're like, can we sit at the bar? They're like, actually, it's Sunday night and all of our regulars come on Sunday night and they all have seats at the bar. So you can't sit at the bar, but I can sit at the table. They literally had wooden signs, like little wooden plaques with the customers' names at their seats on the bar. I'm like, this is the kind of shit that I like, right? I want that in my neighborhood, because if there's a restaurant I like, I'll go over and over again and I chat with everybody and whatnot. And we just had a little appetizer and a drink, and it was very good, but it was a really cute place. And then we ended up for dinner at this restaurant called the Town Company, which is in sort of a refurbished old hotel called the Hotel Kansas City that is like one of the more Tartarian kind of looking buildings. In fact, the restaurant is in sort of what would be like that sunken first floor where the window is sort of half underground.
Oh, wow.
Right. And the chefs are from New York. They, I guess, recently moved back to Kansas City or moved there. They've, worked at some of the high-end restaurants in New York. So the food was interesting and very good, and the service was nice. But it was kind of interesting to be in this sort of old building, and it was the kind of hotel my grandmother would have loved. She was a travel agent, or as I'm coming to understand, maybe a time travel agent. Whatever it is. But so we had great food there. And then we moved on the next day to Des Moines. We were in Des Moines for a couple of days. And I'd say we had great drinks at this place called the Bartender's Handshake. That was, the drinks there were excellent. And then we had great food and great drinks at a restaurant called Bubba, which was kind of like a Southern style restaurant. I'd say everything else that we had, the pizza we had at that Franca place was pretty good. Everything else was it was good or interesting, but not quite. But the experience at the Bartender's Handshake was special because of who we were there with. Right? So we, in the days before we went, I was chatting with Nish, and Nish is also from Iowa. Laura's not from Iowa, but she lived there for a long time, and a lot of her family lives there. And so I was chatting with Nish, and she was telling me about some friend of hers, right, that she really loves, that still lives there. And I said, well, hook us up, right? So she hooks us up over the text, and I start texting with her, and immediately we kind of hit it off on text because she's a foodie and knows all the fun stuff that I like to do. And we set it up to go have a drink with her. So we went and met her at her husband's bike shop, which was actually like a really cool bike shop, right? And she was quite a character. But we went over to the Bartender's Handshake, and it's like she was perfect because if you took kind of like whatever the vibe or energy of like the underground scene of Des Moines, like arts, culture, like weirdos and stuff, and distilled it into one person or into like an experience with someone that you're going to have for like an hour or an hour and a half, this was the person, right? Like it was just like getting like a drop, like of the tincture of like the weirdest aspects of Des Moines or something like that. Her name was Amy Putney Koenig. She's an artist. You can see her stuff online. She's a mural artist around town there. And she's just like, you'll love this, Robert, right? We're chatting all this interesting stuff, like connecting, like, for someone that we'd never met, like all three of us, Laura, Jeff, and I, were all just vibing with this chick. And then she announces that she lives on Moyer Street.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Right. And so just the degrees of separation. And so afterwards it was like, nice job. That was like one of the most entertaining hour and a half with somebody I'd never met before I'd ever had. Right.
That's cool. That's a good story.
Yeah. And she's as hyper as I am. Right. She's just kind of like, she was like, it was cool. Right. It was kind of nice to see that, like, I'm not the only one out there that can kind of condense that much sort of energy and information into one little body and one little conversation or whatever. Right. So that was kind of cool to get to meet her. It felt like, okay, like this is like a real true, like Des Moines. She knows like all the, people, like she knows someone named like Terry Toy, who I'd never heard of before, but I looked up, who Terry Toy is? No. So Terry Toy was the first transgender, like famous transgender model.
Oh, okay.
Right? And this person is from Des Moines, right? And once I looked her up, it was like, oh yeah, okay, I've seen this person before. So she was telling us about her experiences with this person and what used to go on and all the sort of artsy fartsy weirdy things that they used to do and whatever. It was just super entertaining. So that was cool. And she took us to the Bartender's Handshake, which I had been wanting to try. Like we thought about going there last time we were in Des Moines, but didn't have a chance. And the cocktails there were excellent. So, and then we had a funny waitress at the Bubba place, right? Who like was super honest, right? She was telling us about how she selects which tables she's going to pay attention to and whatnot, right? So it was kind of funny, entertaining. But that was a kind of, those were the food and drink highlights. I think most of the rest of the stuff we had on the trip was just kind of, it wasn't terrible or anything like that, but it was just kind of right?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, good. Now you're back home and you get to
Masaki's coming.
You're having a party this weekend too.
Yeah, Masaki's coming tomorrow, so the food porn fest will continue. He likes the barbecue, and he
likes his brisket. Masaki likes his brisket.
He likes his brisket, and he likes to try the restaurants with me, right? Like I can always count on him when I want to try something weird or different or whatever, right? So yeah, so he's coming in tomorrow, and we're doing the party on Friday night. So he's did you see did you ever see the flyer and stuff for it?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes,
So we'll be doing that. So if anyone's around, feel free to check out my Facebook page. It's all there. So he's going to play with some good old buddies of mine here in Austin, right? So should be a fun evening. And then we're going to venture out to Fredericksburg for kitty sitting and German food.
Yes, and you'll get to meet the outdoor. You've already met the outdoor crew.
I've met the outdoor crew.
Right now, they're out in front of this house. I'm looking at them, and they're looking back at me, trying to get me to go out there and pet them. So they're trying to insert themselves into my life.
Well, cats tend to do that.
Yeah, and I like petting them, but one of them kind of goes a little too far and starts to bite. And it's considered to be like love bites. But this cat has really fucking sharp teeth.
Yeah,
like vampire-like teeth, and it doesn't know how sharp its teeth are. So I have to manage the little affection session with this cat because it gets a little too out of hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's waiting right there for me right now to come out. And he also, by the way, I've got this planter box with these peppers in them. He sleeps in the planter box with the peppers.
The peppers growing nicely.
Planter box with the peppers, which I'm not really sure how I feel about, actually.
Is he a pepper whisperer?
I don't know. He just likes the cool dirt, I think. The cool dirt. Yeah.
He's probably noticed that you pay particular attention to that planter box because you're the pepper whisperer. And so it's probably cooler and damper and just, yeah.
It could be. Cat's got a lot of personality and really, I think, wants to move inside the house.
I was going to say, I think that's the inserting himself that right?
You want to live in here where the other cats have a separate reality, right?
Yeah. Well, if you let him inside, Robert, you know what's going to happen, don't you?
It's not going to work.
Right? You're only one cat away from being a cat lady.
It's just not going to work. Because I got a cat in here who would not dig it.
Yeah. And you got two cats in there that would not dig it.
No, I got one cat in particular that would not dig it. You know who that cat is.
Yes, I do. So anyway,
you'll see now Rosie has a new spot. She's at the top of the stairs now.
Yeah.
So she can look down to see who's coming up the stairs, but she can also look out from the perch on the second floor. And so that's her new place now.
We're talking about the spiral staircase, right?
No, we're talking about the other staircase.
Okay, when I was there last time, she was at like the fourth step from the top on the spiral staircase.
She's got a new spot. She's got the crow's nest up there.
Yeah. Well, Jasper's spot last time was sleeping with us. So that was cool.
Yeah, he'll probably do that again.
And perfect. We're excited. So we're gonna drive out to Fredericksburg and kitty sit, but I'm finally gonna get to go to Otto. We have brunch reservations at Otto on Sunday. So
good. Yeah. So that'll be good. That'll be good.
Yeah.
The food there is good.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
One of the better places in town.
And then I'm trying to figure out what we're gonna do on Saturday night. There's this place there that intrigues me called The Stable because it has craft cocktails and lobster rolls. I think that's like a funny combination.
Be careful at that place.
What happens there?
The guy that owns that place, we could talk about him offline.
All right, sounds good. So I still haven't made a decision about Saturday night yet. I'm mulling through my options.
I think you guys should go to the Red Baron.
The Red Baron. What's the Red Baron?
You guys should go to the Red Baron.
The Red Baron.
If you want the down and dirty Fredericksburg experience, go to the Red Baron.
All right, the Red Baron. Let's see, Red Baron, Fredericksburg. All right, let's see if I'm pulling it up right now. Let's see what is it called? Red Barons? Red Barons. Red Barons. Let's see. All right, Red Barons. This is the one we're talking about right here.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, there's almost there's not even any pictures. All right, fine establishment, what a bar should be. All right. This is pretty sparse information. Let's see if I can find some pictures just so I can get, that's the Red Baron Antique Mall, but there's also a restaurant. This is the sports bar. I see. There we go. Pool, darts, and shuffleboard. I see what you're talking about. All right. Well, we shall see. Anywho,
if you want, I mean, if you want a real Fredericksburg bar experience, that's the place. That's the place to go.
All right. Well, maybe
we'll want a crafty cocktail. I could probably. Yeah, the stable. I don't know. We'll talk about the stable.
We'll talk about the stable. So we're going to do that. And then we'll be back in Austin, and Masaki will be here for a couple more days. And I think on Tuesday he'll play the glass bead game with Michael and I and whatnot. And that then, we'll send him on his way back to Los Angeles. But I think hopefully we'll have a nice weekend with him. So that's the plan.
Good.
And you'll be traversing the country.
I will be.
Yeah.
I will be. Yes. And it's going to be. You ever see that movie Vanishing Point?
No.
Barry Newman.
I don't even know who Barry Newman is.
It's kind of a cult classic. And Barry Newman plays this guy, and he's supposed to get this white challenger to California by a particular time. And it's kind of turns into this weird sort of existential journey with him trying to kind of like cleanse his soul in some ways, but it's not anything he does along the way. It's more about this relationship with speed and authority. Yeah. And so there's this DJ played by Cleavon Little, who is blind, and he's kind of always in the background talking about what this guy is doing. And it's kind of an interesting movie. I mean, in the end, it has a very sort of nihilistic end.
So are you gonna challenge the gods of? Well, that should be an interesting adventure. And do you want to say anything to the folks before we wrap up the pre-show and move on over to the main course? Stay hungry, my friend.
Yeah, I guess. Stay hungry. Yeah.
All right. So we are going to move the show on over to a more hospitable platform, and you can find the link to that right below. We'll see you on the other side. Toodaloo.